Let's now look at the different types of hinges that are available on the market. First of all, I'd like to explain the different types of crank of the knuckle. By that I mean whether the flap comes straight off the knuckle here, as this one does. So this is uncranked. You can see that when it's closed, there's quite a gap between the two flaps. That means this hinge has to be let into the timber some significant distance. That's an uncranked hinge. This next one is cranked, and you can see that when I close the flaps together, they meet here but not quite here. So this is got a crank off the knuckle, and this would be called a cranked hinge. But then there are others where it's fully cranked and the flaps meet fully flat from tip to knuckle. So that's the difference between cranked and uncranked hinges. Let's look at the pins now. These could be light duty, they could be heavy duty, but these are removable pins. You can probably think of uses where the pin would be removable, and you take the door off for maintenance, for painting. This is a very light duty removable pin. This is heavier duty. So they come in various shapes and sizes depending on the use of the door. You would never use a removable pin on the outside face where the knuckle shows on the outside face of an outward opening door. That's for security reasons. This is called a non-removable pin. Now, although you can remove the pin, there's a small grub screw here which I've partly removed. If I fully remove it, then I can take that pin out. And you can see there that that grub screw engages with the recess there in the pin. So that is called a non-removable pin, even though you can remove the pin, but without taking the grub screw out and the door being open, you can't remove the grub screw or the pin. Let's look at a security hinge. A hinge on an outward opening external door. You want to offer more security, and this security stud, when the door is closed, engages through into the frame. There's a variation of this type where the flaps actually engage. You can see when it's closed, that provides additional security. So from the outside, if you were trying to lever or jemmy the door outwards, those would offer greater security. Let's move on now to look at the actual tips of hinges, and we've got three varieties here. This one's a button tip. Some don't have any tip at all. For example, that one, that's just flat, but this one's a button tip. This one would be referred to, quite obviously, a ball tip. And this last one, rather decorative, will be described as a finial tip. Lastly, talking about tips, there's one here with the tip removed. This is called an anti-ligature, where it's chamfered so that nobody could actually get a ligature point on there to self-harm. That's obviously purposely done for certain applications. Finally, the hinge I've got here is a swing clear hinge. You can see the cranked position of the flap, and this door, when opened, even at 90 degrees, provides total clear opening between the two stops, between the two jambs. So this is called a swing clear hinge, ideal for hospitals and places like that where trolleys are being passing through the door. Swing clear hinge. So those are all various types and all have different applications.